I never really set out to chase a number, especially not one as abstract as $600 billion, because money for me has always been more like fuel than a destination, something you burn to get somewhere hard and important. And when I look back now at the strange headline that says, "I became the first person in history to cross that line," I don't see a victory lap. I see a long chain of moments that started with a kid in South Africa who felt out of place and curious and obsessed with how things worked. A kid who read science fiction not to escape reality, but to understand how reality might be stretched, bent, or rebuilt. And when people talk about SpaceX's valuation skyrocketing or Tesla's stock performance surging, what they're really talking about are years where failure was statistically more likely than success. Years where rockets exploded on the pad, where critics laughed openly, where employees worked through nights that blurred into mornings because the mission mattered more than comfort. And I remember standing there after the early Falcon launches failed, feeling the weight of near bankruptcy, knowing that one more failure could end everything, and choosing to push forward anyway because the idea of making life multiplanetary wasn't optional to me. It felt necessary, like an insurance policy for consciousness itself, and the same mindset carried over to Tesla, where the goal was never just to sell cars but to prove that sustainable energy could outperform fossil fuels on every metric that mattered: speed, design, desirability, efficiency. And when the market finally began to understand that electric vehicles weren't a compromise but an upgrade, the stock followed, not because of hype alone, but because factories were being built, batteries were improving, software was evolving, and the company was executing at scale. And people often ask me how it feels to be worth more than any human in history. And the honest answer is that it feels strangely unreal, because most of that number lives, on paper, tied up in companies that demand constant attention, constant reinvestment, constant risk. And I think about how much of that wealth has already been committed, explicitly or implicitly, to Mars, to Starship, to expanding human presence beyond Earth. Because what's the point of accumulating resources if you don't deploy them towards something that expands the future? And I also think about the long nights sleeping on factory floors, about being told again and again that something was impossible, about the thin line between confidence and delusion that every innovator walks, and how close I came to falling off it more than once. And when the valuation of SpaceX reflects belief in reusable rockets and global satellite internet and interplanetary transport, it's really a reflection of thousands of people aligning around a vision that once sounded like science fiction. And when Tesla's market cap swells, it's a signal that the world is, slowly but undeniably, choosing a different energy path. And I don't tell this story to glorify myself, because if anything, this journey has been humbling. It has taught me how little control any one person truly has, how much depends on teams, timing, physics, and a willingness to absorb pain in service of a long-term goal. And I know that headlines will fade, records will be broken, numbers will be surpassed, but what I hope endures is the idea that ambitious goals are worth pursuing even when the odds are bad. That betting everything on a future you believe in can sometimes bend reality in your favor, and that if my net worth crossing $600 billion symbolizes anything at all, I want it to symbolize that humanity is finally starting to invest seriously in its own long-term survival, because in the end, that's the only return that truly matters. When I think about what came after that moment, after the number crossed another psychological threshold that economists and commentators love to debate, I realized the real pressure didn't come from the outside, but from inside my own head. Because once you're associated with a figure that large, every decision feels amplified. Every mistake feels like it could echo through history. And I've never believed that wealth confers wisdom. It only increases the blast radius of your choices, which is why I've tried to stay anchored to first principles, to physics, to engineering realities, to asking what actually moves the needle for civilization instead of what looks good in the short term. And I keep reminding myself that SpaceX didn't become valuable because it was safe. It became valuable because it attempted something absurdly hard and kept iterating until absurd became routine. Landing rockets on drone ships, reusing boosters, driving launch costs down until space stopped being a privilege of governments and started becoming infrastructure. And the same pattern repeated with Tesla, where scaling production nearly broke us multiple times, where automation dreams had to be painfully corrected by human hands, where cash flow cliffs loomed constantly, and yet each crisis sharpened the organization, made it faster, more resilient, more aligned. And I often tell people that surviving is underrated, because survival gives you more shots on goal, more chances to compound effort into impact. And compounding is really the hidden engine behind everything people now label as overnight success. And as the valuation numbers grew, so did the scrutiny, the criticism, the narratives that try to simplify a messy reality into hero or villain, genius or fraud. And I've learned that you can't steer by public opinion because it changes direction faster than any rocket. You have to steer by an internal compass that points toward the future you're trying to build, even when that future makes people uncomfortable, even when it challenges existing power structures, industries, or assumptions. And I think a lot about responsibility, not in the abstract moral sense, but in the engineering sense. Responsibility as load-bearing capacity, as something that must be designed for, tested, reinforced, because if you don't consciously decide how to use leverage, leverage will use you. And that's why so much of what I do still revolves around reinvestment, pushing resources back into projects that increase humanity's option set, whether that's expanding global connectivity, accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, or building the transport system that makes Mars not just a dream, but a destination with schedules and manifests. And I know people will keep asking what comes next, as if there's a finish line, as if progress is a box you check instead of a direction you commit to indefinitely. And the truth is, there is no next in the way they imagine it. There is only deeper, harder, more consequential work, or more risks that don't fit neatly into spreadsheets, more problems that require stubborn optimism to even attempt. And when I look at that $600 billion figure again, stripped of headlines and speculation, I don't see a crown, I see a tool, one that must be wielded carefully, imperfectly, relentlessly, because the future doesn't arrive on its own. It has to be built piece by piece, by people willing to look unreasonable for a very long time before the world finally admits that maybe, just maybe, the impossible was only waiting for persistence.